I saw this instead of The Expendables 2 today. Nobody can ever doubt my abilities as a son ever again. Hello and welcome to my review of Hope Springs, starring Meryl Streep, Tommy Lee Jones, and Steve Carell. Hope Springs centers on Kay and Arnold, played by Meryl Streep and Tommy Lee Jones. They're a couple that's been married for 31 years, but is having some personal and sexual intimacy problems. So Meryl Streep, who finally gets tired of this, buys a ticket to Maine and goes off to get intensive couples counseling, with Tommy Lee Jones' character reluctantly agreeing to come. Now, I was initially reluctant to see Hope Springs, mainly because I don't like Meryl Streep. Yep, I can just see half of you tuning out right now. Some of you are Xing this review out right now going, I can't listen to this blasphemy. He doesn't like Meryl Streep. Pa, 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 pa. But yeah, I don't like her. No, don't take it like that. I mean, I'm sure she's a nice lady and all, but I just don't enjoy her performances. I mean, come on, stop taking everything the wrong way, Jesus Christ! We apologize for that brief mental breakdown. And I was also reluctant to see this film because of the fairly benign subject matter. Obviously, marital issues are a very prevalent issue in our society, but not only have they been addressed in thousands of other movies, but this thing just seemed to be handling it in a very toothless and benign way. But after the reviews gave this movie endless praise, I figured I would give it a shot, and I should have listened to my gut, because Hope Springs is an incredibly vanilla, bland, boring, and benign film. There are two good things in this movie, and their names are Tommy Lee Jones and Steve Carell. Now, I'm going to get into the characters in a minute, but for how they were portrayed, I thought that Tommy Lee Jones did a great job. His character is this very self-centered, kind of introverted guy who just never got out of his shell and is just very hard to get around, and obviously Tommy Lee Jones has played that role a lot throughout his career, and here he's really allowed to take it to 11, and he's the only thing that really makes you laugh throughout this movie, just because his squirminess is just incredibly fun to watch. And Steve Carell does a good job as the therapist. Not really a particularly showy performance, but a nice, calm, relaxed one from him that's very different from what we've seen, and it makes me realize how much I've liked Carell's other dramatic work, such as Dan in Real Life, and how much I've wanted to see him kind of go in that direction since then. And now for the many problems with this movie. This is a movie about picking up the pieces of a broken love and watching it come back together. The problem is, in order to watch that type of film, you have to like the two characters and want to root for them. And I didn't like either of these two characters in this film. Meryl Streep's character is just kind of miserable to watch. I understand that she's sad about her marriage, and that's a perfectly fine premise for her character. But she just gets upset so easily in this film over things that she wanted to happen. Like, for example, there's a scene where they're in the therapist's office, and Tommy Lee Jones, while they are quite negative, is finally expressing his feelings and getting something out, and even though he does leave the room, at least he's expressing his feelings. And she just starts going, "Why are you overreacting and expressing your feelings when we went to a place where we're supposed to talk about our feelings? Jesus Christ!" Isn't it nice to see jokes come around? And Tommy Lee Jones' character is just such a complete, just ignorant, stupid asshole who just doesn't want to listen to his wife and doesn't want to be around his wife. It's impossible to root for these two people to be together when it's impossible to even want to be in the same room with these two people, which is what this movie makes you spend 2 hours doing. Also, this thing is just incredibly contrived and cliched. Director David Frankel, who's directed The Devil Wears Prada and The Big Year, doesn't do anything to try to make this film stand out from the pack of typical romantic comedies. It's shot very standardly, doesn't really have anything that makes it look or feel any different from even a previous Meryl Streep movie. Like, it feels like a weird pseudo-sequel to It's Complicated, almost. Like, it feels like they could almost be set in the same universe, even though they're two kind of different films. It just doesn't have anything of its own. It feels like a movie that's been put together by pieces of tons of other movies and has just been put together in a package that they hope will touch people in some way. And I know I'm obviously not the target audience for this movie, and I understand that. But love stories like this should have a certain appeal to anybody who's been in love, not just the demographic that the two main characters are. And that's really what was missing here. I never felt like these two were in love at any point, regardless of how much the script would like me to believe that they are/were. and it just didn't appeal to me on any romantic or comedic or aesthetic level. Overall, while it's occasionally funny and has some good performances, Hope Springs is a bland and lifeless film that leeches off the corpses of other romantic comedies that are exactly like it. It's sweet, and maybe some couples will enjoy it, but I really didn't, even as someone who does enjoy romantic comedies. And I'm going to give Hope Springs 1.5 stars out of 4 just for the few redeeming qualities that it does have. And that was my review of Hope Springs. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please subscribe to my channel. And until next time, I'm Movie Kid Mike.